bellying up to the 9-foot homemade oak bar. My name is Craig Toth, your host of Minor League News and Brews, talking about everything around the Pirates minor league system and giving you some beer reviews at the end of the show. This feed usually comes to you every Saturday morning like clockwork, but thanks to some technical difficulties, not only with my equipment, but with my flights back up from Bradenton, was delayed in Chicago for about 7 hours after being in the Sarasota-Bradenton airport for 4 hours, and that led to complete exhaustion and not being able to record. And when I did sit down to record, there were some technical issues, probably in transporting said equipment back up here. All that means for you is that you will get 2 episodes back-to-back of Minor League News and Brews, and then the regular Bucs in the Basement show with myself and Chris, and more than likely 3 shows in about 5 days. So, can't really be too much of a bad thing. And I am going to talk a lot about my time down in Bradenton, especially the stuff on the minor league side. But before I do that, I wanted to get into a discussion concerning what happens to all the guys that are in minor league camp and they find their way over to the Backfields at Pirate City. It's more of a technical type issue of the way that things are worded. And you will see roster moves being announced and made by the Pirates, and you'll see the words reassigned and optioned. And the only real difference in this is that the guys that are already on the 40-man roster have to be optioned. And this is not, an option as if something, that happens during the regular season. More of a paper move to a degree. The first person that was optioned to the minors and is already on the IL in the minors, and that is Mike Burrows, pitcher who is coming off of Tommy John surgery. A lot of people were thinking that as soon as spring training started, that there would be, the 4 players, JT Brubaker, Johan Oviedo, Endy Rodriguez, and Mike Burrows added to the 60-day. The only thing is that if you put Mike Burrows on the 60-day to open up a spot for an acquisition, you have to start allowing him to accrue major league service time without having pitched even a single inning in the major leagues. So that's why that option occurs. Another one is Jackson Wolf, left-handed pitcher acquired from San Diego last year in a trade. He goes to Altoona, Colin Selby to Indy. The newly acquired Kanan Smith and Jigba also to Indy. Sung Chae Chang to Altoona, and Kyle Nicholas to Indy. The one thing here is that, once the player is optioned to those places, and pretty much they just go to Pirate City, to the minor leagues, it doesn't mean that you won't see them in a spring training game, because there are some, innings and at-bats and rest days that do need to happen. The Pirates are starting to ramp up a little bit more, so I think that a lot of those players coming in like the 6th, 7th inning, sometimes even earlier than that, will start to dwindle down slightly. but it doesn't mean that you won't see them anymore, and it doesn't mean that these guys couldn't still be added to the major league team for the opening day roster if there would be injuries and different types of stuff. But that is kind of unlikely. There are some NRI guys and some guys that are still on the 40-man that are still in Major League camp that probably have a better shot of making the Major League roster, but stranger things have happened. On the other side are the reassignments. These are guys that were non-roster invitees that are not on the 40-man roster. It's Andres Alvarez, Anthony Solomito, Thomas Harrington, which I will make a note that it came out last week that Thomas Harrington was dealing with a little bit of a shoulder issue, not something that you ever want to hear with pitchers because shoulders are attached to the elbow, are attached to obliques. Once there is an injury with a pitcher, if it's not managed correctly, that can kind of get out of control a little bit because all of their movements and different things are kind of all tied together. So once one injury pops up, there's always the possibility, not a guarantee, that there would be another injury, but taking it, a little bit slower with him. Bubba Chandler, Connor Sadzik, Sean Sullivan, Abraham Gutierrez, Ben Heller, Michael Plasmeyer, Tamar Johnson, Jack Brannigan, and then most recently, wouldn't have been announced on this show if it was recorded on time, Paul Skeens, Carter Binns, Alcantara, Gorski, and Joe Perez. And the other thing about this is, guys being optioned down or, reassigned, it doesn't even mean that they were having, a bad spring training per se. I mean, you look at, certain players like an Abraham Gutierrez. I know it was only 15 plate appearances, but, was slashing 308, 400, 769 with 2 home runs, only 5 Ks and 2 walks. You had, Michael Plasmeyer wasn't doing too poorly. In only 3.2 innings, he had the 0.00 ERA with 4 Ks and 1 walk. Did have a 1.36 whip. So, that's still not great, but wasn't really enough. There's a decent amount of guys that are performing better. For Solomito, Harrington, Bubba Chandler, they did get some work in with the Major League team. Also, in the inaugural spring training breakout game that I was there to see in person. We'll talk about that more in depth towards the end of the show. But they did get some work in. It wasn't about performance. Those guys really didn't have a shot to make the team. Another one that performed well and was also in the breakout, Tamar Johnson, the best position player prospect in the Pirates minor league system right now. Accumulated 21 plate appearances during spring training, slash 368, 429, 737. Geez, that's a plane. It sounds like the planes that I took on my way back here to Pittsburgh, and some that I didn't take because they were held up. 2 home runs, 7 Ks, 2 walks. The guy just keeps on showing. I think I talked about this on an earlier minor league news and brews, just expanding the zone and going down and getting some pitches, being real smart with his approach, not trying to kill the ball at times when he can, just kind of slap the ball. It's really great to see him have that type of approach. Once again, with him, it's going to be all about the strikeouts to walk ratio. The strikeouts were a little bit higher last year, but so were the walks. If you can kind of find that balance, then you have yourself a pretty big prospect. But before I got started, I really just wanted to talk to you guys about the difference between the options and the assignments, and how they, just wording can be a little bit different. And of course, then once you get into the regular season, or even before that, you may see some designated for assignment. So I can kind of see where the confusion comes from. Whenever I'm down in Bradenton, one of the things I look forward to the most is heading out to Pirate City, walking through the gates, finding my way to the backfields, and just getting to see the players work out. I got there around 9:30 in the morning, both Wednesday and Thursday last week. A lot of people will say that this stuff isn't super exciting. You may not get to see, the major league players. A lot of the times you won't, especially during those morning workouts. But just running the different drills, players taking batting practice, shagging fly balls. To me, there's kind of nothing really like it. If you are a baseball fan, and especially a Pirates fan, the way that Pirate City is set up, I park my car, I look over to my left, and I see the pitchers, working out, playing catch, doing some exercises with, different apparatus, different weighted balls, talking with the coaches, and just getting, a general workout in, and then making my way over, like I said, seeing guys just running drills, doing double plays, having pitchers on the mound, and seeing how they will react. Coaches laying down bunts for the catchers and the first baseman, pitchers and third baseman. And also, like I said, just how close you are to the players. It just makes you feel a part of what's going on. The people and the fans that you get to talk to. I mean, at most, during the time that I was down there, maybe 30 to 40 fans just kind of walking around, talking to each other, talking about the season, talking to, about the players that they're seeing. And it's just such a great time. When I was there on Wednesday, big shout out to Tristan, a Pirates fan, a listener of the podcast, who I got to talk to, a lot during this time. Seemed to run into him and his wife a lot over the next couple of days after meeting with them. And just, it was, just a fun time and a great thing to see. And we were given a treat that Wednesday afternoon. Usually at Pirate City, there's like exhibition scrimmages going on. As it gets later into spring training, those will be between the Pirates and players from other organizations. I know that on Wednesday there was one scheduled with the Orioles. It didn't end up happening, but I did hear that it did take place, or one did take place on Friday afternoon after I had left. But we were given a treat, because when there are players that are rehabbing or kind of ramping up a little bit, you will get to see those players in these exhibition games. Martin Perez was the pitcher for one of the teams, because it was like an inter-squad exhibition. He faced off against the previously mentioned Jackson Wolf. You had Yasmani Grandal. He was catching, he was hitting, but as was reported that same day, he was not running due to the plantar fasciitis. Kind of hard to see how he is going to be geared up for opening day. A good thing for Henry Davis and the supporters of Henry Davis, which should be all of us. And then also Andrew McCutchen. The funny thing with this is he didn't do much running either. Was just kind of in there getting his timing down. Hit an opposite field single, ran down to first base with his bat, got to first base, headed straight towards the little dugouts they have there, got a pinch runner right away. Also got to see Sung-Chae Chang up close, got to see Jack Brannigan, Malcolm Nunez. The one thing with a few of these players, starting with Malcolm Nunez, is he was playing third base again, and that's something that we had seen during spring training last year. And I mean, the thing I noticed with him is that he is so quick with his feet. He's very smooth and good with his glove. Not a small guy, so for him to get down there so quickly with the glove, I think a lot of that is the footwork, getting him and him being in the position that he needs to be. That just really helps him out a lot. Jack Brannigan bounced between third base and shortstop. I mean, he is just so good with his glove. I mean, a lot of people have compared his game somewhat to Jared Triolo. This guy's got a frame on him, but once again, just kind of like Nunez, but to like another tier. Is just so smooth, so good with the glove, and then also with him, I mean, a lot of people know that he was a little bit of a two-way player at Notre Dame, a relief pitcher. So that arm is also very strong. And he, I think one time, kind of came in front of the shortstop a little bit, made a nice little play, a quick little throw. And it was just very cool to see, because anybody that's been down there, and I can describe it for you, but you're sitting on bleachers, and it's very similar and as close as the bleachers would be to my son's Little League game. So you're like, honestly, like that close to the field. So very cool. Get to see Jackson Wolf. One thing I really, stuck out to me with him, he does this little, and I know this is an audio podcast, but he does this little whirl with his arms. So anybody that's seen him pitch in person, and his delivery is extremely deceptive. The release point for every single one of his pitches is from the same arm slot. It looks like it's from like the same position, and even guys were coming back to the dugout and, trying to say that, it looked like it was going to be this type of pitch, and then it kind of just came in on them more than they thought it would be, because it was like a little bit of a slider, a cutter, a sweeper. It was, I mean, I was fairly impressed with him in his performance there. I had gotten to see him on video previously, but never in person. And Martin Perez, I know this is a minor league podcast, but just everything that I saw from him is that he's kind of locked in this year. It was very repeatable motion, doesn't have to throw hard, doesn't really rely on that. So, I mean, I don't want to get too excited, because, more than likely Perez will only be here for a season. Sometimes it's a possibility that he may be here only until the All-Star break, but it's definitely something that has me very encouraged Sung-Chae Chang, solid approach at the plate. Right now, it just seems like he's not making enough contact, and with contact, it's almost like barreling up the ball. I believe that will come. He did show a little bit more power last season. Good in the field, usually very good at the plate, probably just kind of feeling things out. So I'm very hopeful that he can kind of turn those things around. Like I said, anybody that hasn't been to the backfields at Pirate City, do yourselves a favor. Get down there. Get over there. You will not be disappointed. When I planned my trip to Bradenton, I'm not going to lie, I planned it around the inaugural spring breakout games, the prospect breakout, just because, I mean, everyone knows how much of a prospect junkie that I am, and it just seemed like such a cool thing to do to highlight the best prospects in each system, and then especially once you find out that they are going to be, squared up against arguably, by most accounts, the number one farm system in minor league baseball, the Baltimore Orioles. It was a crazy atmosphere, especially at the beginning of the game. Skeens, he began to warm up in the workout area, kind of behind the boardwalk out there in right field. They had a nice tent up that they were having dinner at. Sitting at a table was Bob Nutting, Derek Shelton, Travis Williams. Saw Jimmy Leland having a conversation with Joe Torre. Would love to have been, I guess it would be a fly on that table or on the tent ceiling over there, just to know what those two great baseball minds were talking about. And then he moves into the bullpen to officially start his warm-ups. Was at least, I would say, 3 to 4 fans deep all around that bullpen out there. And then once the game finally started, it was almost like, and it was described by Eric Garfield, a friend of the podcast, friend of myself, him and Bailey, guys from the Florida Prospect Report, give them a big shout out. If you don't, follow them. They are boots on the ground down there in Bradenton. Do a lot of covering. Obviously, it's Eric Garfield, Eric Birdland, so a lot of Oriole stuff, but attends, a lot of games at Lecom Park as well. Follows the Marauders, is over there on the backfields, checking out the FCL games. Really, both of them have great relationships with all of the players down there. But Eric described the atmosphere just so well. And when we were sitting there, I believe watching a Tamar Johnson, or maybe it was Mitch Jebb, take a plate appearance, he said that, when Paul Skeens took the mound and was facing off against the top of the order for the prospects, especially during the Jackson Holiday at bat, it was more of a golf match or even a tennis match instead of a baseball game. I mean, it was so quiet, you could realistically almost hear a pin drop in Lecom Park, which, I mean, during the spring training games, it was never that quiet. And I mean, there was applause, when, something would happen. Skeen stepped in there to the leadoff hitter, 100, 101, 102. Then he had a six-pitch battle with Jackson Holiday, and he got a strikeout. Three more pitches over 100 miles an hour. Holiday said later on that he got him with, I think it was described as a slider on StatCast. Holiday described it more of a cutter. But I mean, when you have that much movement, when the pitches are coming that quickly, I mean, it's very hard to react to. Did not disappoint whatsoever. Some other things that I really noticed from this game, Tamar Johnson, as I mentioned previously, very smart hitting, advanced approach. Saw the player, the third baseman, kind of leaning off the bag, shading off more a little bit, and just kind of hit the ball over there for a base hit. Tony Blanco Jr. is a giant human, and that's really the only way I can describe it. He had a 106.1 mile per hour single. Jace Bowen made solid contact, had two singles, but even in the flyout that he had to deep right center, I mean, it just sounds different coming off of the bat. Garrett Forrester, drafted third round last year out of OSU. The thing that was in his profile previous to this was walks over Ks ever since his freshman year. And he pretty much followed along with that because he walked two times during this game. Braxton Ashcraft had some of his stuff working, maybe didn't get some calls at times, but was a little bit wild to a degree as well. Probably had a little of those juices flowing. 2 Ks, 2 walks. Christian Curtis, the 12th rounder last year out of ASU, didn't give up a run, but did have 2 walks kind of worked out of that. Patrick Riley, the 5th rounder from Vandy in 2023, 3 Ks. I mean, all of his stuff just looked really, really good. Bubba Chandler, could definitely tell the nerves were cooking with him. Hit a batter, did get a K, got the save. I think he said to Hannah Mears from Pittsburgh Sports Net, saw a quote out there where he said something like closing is cool. Jack Brannigan, unfortunately, did not have a great game, had 2 Ks and an RBI, did make a nice play. And then the other thing that we got to see during the game that isn't something I got to see in the minor leagues whatsoever last year, which was the umpire called the pitch a ball, and the catcher challenged it, and then it goes up on the big screen out there. You see it. It basically looks like game day, where you see the pitch come in. It clipped I believe it was the bottom part of the zone, just barely, was changed to a strike. And once again, that was another time that people just kind of gave out a cheer. I think even if you were a Pirates fan, just because it was kind of like a cool thing to see. But, I mean, just overall, an absolutely amazing experience down there. Can't wait to plan my trip for next year. Hopefully get to take the wife and kids with me this time. I mean, obviously, I'll have some tag-alongs to Pirate City to a few games. They'll get to spend some time on the beach. But for me, it was baseball all day, every day, pretty much from, 9:30 in the morning till at least 5, 6 o'clock, and during the breakout game, like 9 o'clock in the evening. Just enjoyed it so much. Great meeting everybody down there. And like I said, just can't wait to go back down to one of my happy places.
A pitcher of beer, a pitcher of beer. Let's order another pitcher of beer. That pitcher of beer should come over here. I love that pitcher of beer.
If you are over at Pirate City, there is 99% of the time a break in the morning for the guys to go get some lunch before those games take place in the afternoon, those exhibition games. About a half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile at most from Pirate City is my favorite brewery in Bradenton. I was given this recommendation last year by Douglas Smith. Douglas, some people may know him. He runs a Pirate Spring Training Insiders group on Facebook, can give you the ins and outs of what you will see, what to do at spring training. Gave me this recommendation for Three Keys Brewing. Not only do they have delicious beers, every Wednesday they have a smash burger special. Their smash burgers are absolutely amazing. They claim it's the best burger in Bradenton, and I haven't really tried any other burgers in Bradenton, but it'd be hard to disagree with. You get the flaky white fish taco. I had that the next day. And each day just kind of had a couple of light beers in between the workouts and the games. And these are the beers that I had. All of them very delicious, some better than others. The first one was the Pale Moonlight American Pale Ale, coming in at 5%. Give it 4.25 on the weighted based on batting average scale. Bring that down to 3.75. The Go Man Go Hefeweizen, 4.5%. Give that one a 4.50. Knock it down to 3.75. This one had some sort of little citrus taste to it, which was just the perfect complement to the smash burger that I was having. The next day, tried the 15-16 Kolsch, coming in at 5.2%. Give that one a 400, knock it down to 350. Just a very delicious, delightful, crisp Kolsch. And then the favorite one that I had, the Sun Coast Dreamin' Cream Ale. And man, I know that I don't have cream ales at breweries a lot of times, but anytime I do, they usually turn out to be the favorite beer that I have. Just an absolutely, just a delicious beer. Give this one a 4.75. Knock it down to 4.25. Anybody that's over at Pirate City, go check out Three Keys Brewing. We're working towards the start of Major League Baseball and also Minor League Baseball. So guys, until next time, let's go Indians, let's go Curve, let's go Hoppers, and let's go Bradenton Marauders.